Hey guys, we're back. This time we're taking a look at Drop Drive from Shift Games. And my copy here has a few of the deluxe components in it. So I'll try to go over which is which as we go through. But overall, it's a awesome game. I love it. It's quickly become a favorite of our... It's not really a dexterity game, but it's a physical component game. You're interacting with the components. And it's just an all-around kind of fun thing. It's pretty quick to play and easy to learn. So we'll get right in and take a look. So the first thing we have here right on the top is our rulebook. And I did an unboxing of this a while ago, so I'm going to kind of quick flip through things because I think I went through all that. But your first page is your components on both sides. Then you got your setup, which is pretty easy and straightforward. Player setup here, and they have basically like optional rules and things on these sidebars. And a lot of it is for do this, and then they have for the full game do this, which involves some of the stuff on the extras. Because your first time playing, you're probably not going to use everything, because there's a lot to this little game. Then we got gameplay, so it goes through the turn order as you do things, how your engines work, onto encounters, damage, and then landing on a planet. And again, anything that's in the core rules here is listed, but these highlighted sections are for after your first game when you're planning on playing with more of the optional rules included. And they even have a section that tells you to stop. These are completely optional rules, so you can skip them for your first game. And there's a bunch of optional stuff in the back. Have a nice turn order kind of cheat sheet on the back here, as well as a quick reference guide for the specimens, which we'll get into. That's kind of your in-game scoring. So I will admit I did not learn how to play from this rule book. I had a prototype I tested, and I went through several different rule books, so I can't comment on how easy it is to learn from the rule book. However, I have taught a few other people to play, and they use the rule book for reference, so there is that. I think everything's covered pretty well in here, and if you do have one or two questions, there is a FAQ, and you can get to that. There's actually a QR code right there, and I know they did clarify at least one card on that. So in here we've got all of our components, and this tray is actually pretty well thought out. Everything fits in here nicely. These come with the base game. They are fold out sections to make your map. So you're going to make a giant hexagon out of these to play your map on. They did offer a nicer version of these that was a thicker cardboard. These do the trick, though. I actually have a wood board my wife made me for Dungeon Drop that we use. I did find, however, these don't actually go in there. That was something I made. I did find these little clips are amazing for clipping the board together. So if you have a couple of these, pretty standard clips, but they go on the sections here. You can put them on the bottom side so they're not in the way, like that. And I put them on the junctions where these meet with the other ones, and it makes the player board much more stable and stays together nicely. Just like that. So granted, this is a square, not a hexagon, but you get the idea. Those are just a personal preference thing, though. But these do come with the base game, which is nice. I'll get the rest of that set up in a minute here. I don't want to go through some of the other components in here. For the base game, you are going to get cardboard tokens for your money. Mine are stashed away somewhere, but they look just like these. They're just cardboard tokens. Those are your 5s. You have 25s and 1s. But like I said, I was going to point out the differences between the deluxe components and the base game ones as I come to them. So these are actually an add-on, these metal coins. The cardboard ones play just the same, they even look the same. So in here we have our captain tokens. And I have extra in here because I believe the white captain is from an expansion, which adds a 5th player to the game, so we'll set him aside. And the Boblin captain is actually a promo, which I know he came with the Kickstarter version of the game. I don't know if he comes with the normal retails, so maybe I'll add a comment in there if I remember that later on. But you do have your normal captain tokens in here, and each one is unique and assigned to a color in the game. They each have stats down here. In this case, you get +1 to your combat rolls and +1 to your exploration. This guy gives you +2 credits each time you use your drop drive. This guy gets you an extra specimen jar, basically. And this one allows you to grab the nearest 2 asteroids at the start of the game. On the back side of all of these are what to do in your encounters. So you can either approach someone with hailing frequencies, which is basically a friendly. If they respond in kind, you both take the nearest 2 resources and then split them between you. If you approach someone with weapons armed, it starts a combat. If either one of the players arms their weapons, it starts a combat. So if you approach a pirate, they always match the one that you choose. If you approach a player, it is up to that player which one they want to do. So be wary of that when you're going to other players. What's next in here? We have the planet tokens. So these are deluxe planet tokens. They're exactly the same as the ones in the base game. However, these are multi-layered. You can see there's indentations where the cubes go so they don't get bumped around. Other than that, they're the same. These are actually triple layer because there's insets on the back as well. But one side of these is the base side that you're going to play for your first game, and then after that, you're going to flip over a couple of them, and the planet gains a new ability. Whenever you land on there, they also buy and sell. You can see here they buy 2 of each here, and then it only goes to 1. And you'll spend your market tokens here as you sell stuff to them. Whereas on this side, they only buy 2 different items, but they buy 3. They'll buy it 3 times before it runs out of tokens. And each one of these is unique in what they buy and the special ability on the back. So those are kind of cool. There are 5 base planets in the game. And there's one of those for each. I think I want to say the ones that come in the base game are a card stock similar to this, where these are the thicker chipboard. So that's worth keeping in mind. I do like the deluxe ones of those because I always love recess slots so marker tokens don't get bumped during the game. This bag has basically everything you're going to drop at the beginning of the game to make your system. So we don't have all our walls set up here, but let's get to something else first. Here is the sun. And this is actually a wood semicircle here for a sun. And this is going to go in the center of your play area. Your play area is going to be much bigger than this. Like I said, I didn't set the whole thing up because this one off camera here still unfolds. But just for a gist, this is going to go in the center of your play area. You're going to take everything in here and you're going to dump it over the sun. Obviously from much higher up, so they spread out more, but that's what's going to create your system. And in here we have a bunch of different tokens. We have our fuel canisters, which you're going to use to activate your jump drive. We have scrap, which you're going to identify at planets in order to get upgrades and things for your ship. We have the various different colors of asteroids, and these correspond with the various planets of what colors they buy and how much. So you multiply the number of these you have on your ship that you want to sell times whatever it is. So the first person to sell at this planet and sell the blue is going to get 4 each. So if you have 2, it's going to be 8. And then anything you sell gets redropped over the sun. Again, this is going to be spread way more out in an actual game. You also have these anomaly monoliths, and these are going to be in the system as well. If your ship ever comes in contact with one of those, it stops immediately. There's a card you draw, which we'll get to in a minute. And based on if you're playing the base game, where you're doing the short range anomalies or the long range anomalies, it's going to have a different effect. We'll get to the anomalies in a bit, though. They're kind of a really fun part to the game. Aside from those components out here, we also have planets. Again, these are the deluxe versions of planets. They have this marble swirl to them. The base game ones are just the matching player colors. So there's a solid pink and solid blue, solid white, green, and yellow. But still the same shape. They're still just dice. They're just solid colors instead of the marble. And those are the planets that you're going to land on that are represented by those tiles. They do give you a bunch of extra tokens, tiles, and things. And these you can either make up rules for yourself. They give you some blank cards to do that. Or you can just drop them in for background. They have things like these comets here. They have, there's a thing that looks kind of like a Stargate. There's just some weird odds and ends in there, a little nebula. These don't actually have in-game rules as of yet, but players have been already creating new scenarios and things that use those. Those are really cool that they added in. And again, it's for future expansion stuff or things you want to create yourself. Next up here we have our ship cards, and you have ship fronts. And those are the fronts and ship backs. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to, depending on how you're playing, you're either going to be dealt multiple of these or just random ones of these. And then you choose out of the ones you're given. You're going to end up with one of each of these at the beginning of the game. But they designate things like this here is your drop drive. So in this case, his drop drive must be used over top of another ship. Now that can be a player ship, it can be a pirate ship, but it has to be over another ship. There's different ones of these with different icons. This one can be used anywhere. This one can be used over a ship or a planet, and so on. And depending on which one of those you get, is going to be determine how you use your drop drive for the game. Your next one here is your combat rating. So all combat in this game is done on a die 6. You get a bonus, so in this case you're going to get a +2 to your roll versus a 0 to your roll on that one, +4 on that one. So there's different variants. Generally, if you have a lower roll, there's going to be more cargo slots, which is the next thing on here, are these cargo slots. So this can hold 2 items, this can hold 1 item, this one can hold nothing. So that's something to keep in mind. You also have specimen slots down here, which specimens you keep till the end of the game, and they have various scoring for in-game purposes. You also have a name of your ship up here. So you're going to choose your front half. And the same goes true for the back half. You're going to have your back halves here. And again, these have different parts to them. You have the back half of your name. You have a number of cargo slots. You have a number of specimen slots, just like the front. These also have a number for exploration. So when you land on a planet, there's an exploration deck. This designates how many cards from that deck you're going to draw. You only get to keep 1, but in this case, you'll get to look at 3 and choose which one you want the most out of those 3. Higher that number, the more cards you draw, the better chances of getting what you want out of there. That's kind of cool. This next one is your rocket drive, which is the main way you're going to be moving around throughout the game. We get to that when we get to the templates and things, but in this case, you're going to be 5 links on your rocket drive. Those vary. They generally go up. If the, I think it goes 1 through 6. There might not be a 1, maybe a 3 through 6, I think. But the higher that number, generally the lower that number. That's just how they work. And then you also have a number of, you can see in this case, this one has 4 cargo slots, this one has 3, this has 1 specimen slot, though this one has 2. So there's pluses and minuses to each of them. That one has 5 cargo slots, which is nice. But yeah, there's pluses and minuses to all of the pieces based on what you're taking. But that's going to connect on like that. And there's a nice variety of them, so you're getting a different build each time of your fronts and backs. So when you put them together, it makes your ship, and you get a name there, the improvised drone. This is going to extend as you add components to your ship and make your name into some big silly thing by the end, which is kind of funny. We have our ship upgrade cards here, and this is a pretty thick deck. I do have a couple promo cards in here, which I'll point out if they come up. They are labeled different than the rest of the cards. But these consist of 3 different types of cards. So first we have here is a passenger. And this is the planet the passenger's from here. This is the planets they're looking to go to. So regardless of where you pick them up, this is where they want to go. So one of these 2 planets. They all have an ability down here. So when you deliver them to one of these planets, you're going to gain this ability. Whatever it is. Usually it's some kind of creditary bonus, but there are other things in there. You cannot drop a passenger off on the same planet that you picked them up on. Basically, you can't take off and land at the same turn. So you'd have to take off from a planet, fly around, then come back next turn and land if you happen to pick up somebody who's going to a planet that you're on. Next thing over here is the specimens. And these are the endgame scoring. They're going to go in those specimen slots on the bottom of your thing. All the icons match up. So they're going to go down here. And you can only carry so many of those based on the slots on your ship. Every one of them has these 3 stats at the top. It's number of eyes, weight, and number of arms. Most of them have a, oh, sure, I get one that doesn't. This one is basically for every guy you have from that planet, you're going to score 3. So he would count as 3. There we go. All right. There's a nice easy one. So every guy you have at the end of the game that has 3 eyeballs is going to be worth 2 points. This guy here has 3 eyeballs. That's 3 plus. So anything 3 or more. So as you collect your other guys, this guy also has 3 eyes. So you're going to score 2 points for this guy for his 3 eyes, 2 points for this guy for his 3 eyes. And then his is anybody from the blue planet is going to get you 3 credits. So he's from the blue planet. You're going to get 3 credits for him, and you're going to get 3 credits for him. So it's good to look up combos like that if you can collect things like that all trigger off each other. Those are nice. And that's one of the promo cards. It has the drop drive logo and the phase shift logo behind there. So we're going to skip that one. Go to one that's actually in the game. So this is a ship upgrade. This is the 3rd type of card you can get. And if you take a ship upgrade, they all give you a different ability down here. Some also give you extra cargo slots. And when you get one of these, they're going to slot into your ship right in the middle like that. So now we have the improvised scouting drone. There's a bunch of different ship upgrades. And as you gain them, like I said, each one has an ability at the bottom that you're going to add onto your ship. It extends the length of your ship. They also give you more hit points. When you take damage in this game, you're going to take your upgrades and flip them over to represent damage inflicted. When they are damaged, you no longer get the benefit of that upgrade, so keep that in mind. When you land on a planet, you have the option to explore the planet to draw more of those exploration cards from the deck, or to repair all your upgrades on your ship by flipping them back over. So that's a choice you're going to have to make when you go to the planet. Having a bunch of those upgrades on there keeps you from actually losing cargo, though, which I was going to go over when I get to combat, but I can mention now. As you take damage, you're going to flip those over. If you run out of those or don't have any, you start losing cargo to the person who inflicted the damage. So that's something to keep in mind. Next we have the actual monolith cards here. These are for the anomalies. And there's a selection of them here at the bottom that are named. You have Alpha, Beta, Phi, Chi, Delta, and Epsilon. And these are used to create your own anomalies. And some people have already done so. You write down where ones go with which, so you have a little reference card that'll say, you know, Alpha is this. And you shuffle that into the deck. When Alpha comes up, that's the anomaly you go with. So those are kind of cool. I love when they add things so you can create your own content. The game also comes with a pretty good stack of normal anomalies. Now, some of these are exclusive to the Kickstarter edition, I think, but there are a handful of these included in the base game. I'm not sure which are which, so I'm not even going to try to guess. on what comes with it and what doesn't. I know that one's an extra one. So yeah, and there's that one's a promo. So there are some other things in there. That one's a promo. That's a cross promo with Dungeon Drop. Galactic Shipping Hub, I think, was from the Shipping Shenanigans. So yeah, I have, yeah, and so was the Wreck of the Other Star. But some of these, like I think the Space Mines is a generic one. So what you're going to do with these is whenever anybody encounters one of the monoliths, you're going to draw a random one of these cards and do what is right here on the top. Now we like to play, if we're using the short range, which is where you do that, you redrop these and they keep coming up so you can cycle through. That is technically not the rules. The rules are they are removed from play, so you'll only ever encounter 3. But I think when you're doing the short wave, that's the most fun way to do it. But your mileage may vary. That's also a house rule, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, if you're doing the long range scans, you're going to look here at the bottom, level 1 long range scan. You're going to go and there's a card, which I don't have because mine are in the other box. There, if you're going to the long range ones, you're going to look at the long range scan rules card. So in this case, we have the space mines. So we're going to look up our rules card for the space mines. And they tell you what to do when you first encounter it. And then on the back side is the ongoing effects. In this case, you're going to be dropping a bunch of these mine tokens into the map, which deal damage if you come across them. So that was kind of cool. I love the fact that every one of those is different, and there's quite a few. Like I said, some of these are promos and add-on ones, but there's still quite a few of those in the base game alone. I don't have all of these out because I have them stored separately, so they're easy to find. Next thing we have is a couple of things for various extra tokens again. That really should be in the bag with those. There's a Dyson Sphere, which actually goes over the sun. It's one of the anomalies. The legs to it always come off, so I'm going to glue mine in place. That's probably my only complaint about this game, is that the legs on this come off all the time. But once you glue them, they're fine. I don't even know where they all are. They're in the box somewhere. The next thing we have are the player ships. So you have the little player ship icon. I know it's hard to see in the bag there. There you go. And they're little wooden tokens with the player ships printed on them. There are matching color pirate ships. There are combat dice to match each of the players. And then these links are actually generically in the base game gray, and you all share them. You have a base one here, which you basically hold on to, and then a bunch of links. These snap together and apart, so you can adjust the length. The deluxe one has the colored bits that match the players. And then you have these demand tokens, which there's going to be 4 of those per player in your game. And those are what you use to put on the planets when people sell stuff. Those also trigger the end game, so when those run out, that's what triggers the end of the game. These are what you're going to use for your rocket drive. So like we were saying before, our rocket drive of 5 there, we're going to get 5 of these links. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. And this is how you're going to plot your course throughout space from wherever your ship lies to wherever you're going. Again, this is all going to be spread way out more than this. I didn't dump it very well because I didn't have a limited space here. But as you do it, anything you encounter is what you're going to pick up. If you end on a planet, you're going to land on the planet. If you touch one of the anomalies is when you draw one of the cards. So that's kind of a cool system. I love the fact that you can get pretty crazy with these. Double back, you know, zigzag, depending on what you're trying to do. Trying to pick up a ton of cargo that's all together. There you go. So lots of cool things to do there. Anything you fly over, you're going to pick up. You're going to put into those slots on your ship. Anything extra that you can't carry gets redropped over the sun. And that's pretty much all there is to that. There is one of these for each set of player colors. And they did come with a ton of baggies, so you have enough baggies for everything. There's actually way more baggies than I used here. The white ship and pirate are from the expansion, the 5th player expansion. It comes with basically this stuff here and the 5th captain token. And that's pretty much all of the components. Again, there's more of these gray things too. I keep the gray ones in there because there are some upgrades that allow you to have extra, so it's nice to have those. There's also one that lets you slingshot off a planet and get an extra bunch, like 6 movement, so we have a section of these that you can use for that. As I mentioned earlier, the base is, or the box insert is quite useful. It's pretty well laid out. There's plenty of room in here for more tokens, for captain tokens there. The sun fits in here. And then you have your various cards. The exploration cards go here. Monolith cards go in the bottom here with the ship cards on the top. It is worth noting that once you get the... I sleeved all mine, obviously, so they take up more room. And once you get the deluxe planet tokens, they actually come to higher than this insert. I wish this was down just a hair more, but it's not a big deal. I generally put the cards in first with these on top, and if one of these tiles happens to slide, it's no big deal. If you have the base game or you don't sleeve the cards, it's not even going to be an issue for you. So I'm not going to go through a whole how to play thing, and there's plenty of videos for that out there, so you can check those out. But basically, at the beginning of your turn, you're going to take your pirate, if he's not in the system, drop him into the system, he moves to the closest asteroid, picks it up. If he's already in the system, he moves to the closest target, whether that's an asteroid, an item, or a player. He will move to them and either pick up the item or combat the player. When a pirate approaches you, he always approaches with weapons armed. If you approach a pirate, they match whatever stance you choose. So that's a nice thing to keep in mind. If you don't want to be aggressive, you can passively approach them and you both get some free items. Eventually, the pirates are going to start hoovering up all of the resources on the map, though, and you're going to have to deal with them in order to get those resources back into play. Then you're going to take your turn. You can either spend a fuel, which you'll have in your cargo hold if you have some, and use your drop drive based on its limitations of where you can drop in the system, or you can just use your rocket drive to plot your course of where you want to go. And you're going to go through, you're going to be picking up things and then going to the planets to sell them. And that's pretty much how the game progresses. You're exploring when you're on the planets, you get the cards, you check out the anomalies whenever you encounter one of the monoliths. Each time somebody sells something, you're going to be putting those market tokens on the planets. There's 4 of those market tokens per player. When those run out, that triggers the end of the game. Everybody will emergency land at that point on the nearest planet to them. They get basically a turn as if they just landed on that planet to sell things and whatnot. And then you add up all the scores. Whoever has the most money is the winner. I really enjoy this game, and I think I've kind of made that clear in the couple videos I have done for it. It is really simple to kind of teach people. They pick it up within a round or two, and it plays pretty quick for what it is. You can make some zany combos, big ships. I've made some massively long ships. And it's kind of interesting how things turn out. No 2 games are the same, which is probably one of the best selling points of the game. I like the fact that it scales well regardless of player counts. And if you ever do want to make it just a little bit more hectic, you can always make the play area smaller. And a smaller play area condenses everything, and you can see how condensed everything is here. And it can make for a completely different experience than a normal game. The advanced rules where you're playing with the flip sides of the planets, and they all have these special abilities. Each one of them adds some new twist to the game, and those are cool, as well as the various anomalies that what they add to the game. There is an expansion you can buy that has a whole new selection of the anomalies to add. It's called Strange Signals. Probably do a video on that and go into depth more on the various anomalies and their long range effect. Some of those are really cool. There's a lot of extra little promo things as well that were in various packs. I think there was, like I said earlier, the shipping shenanigans one. There's a couple con promos and so on. So there's just a ton in this. Even if you only buy the base game, it's still a blast and a lot of replayability. If you get the expansions, it just adds more and more variety to it. And a lot of the stuff is modular too. You don't have to use the long range scans. Or, alternatively, you can start with a couple of the long-range scans in play. They even have, where did I put that? Oh, I stuck it back. They even have a thing right on here that alternative setup right here. You can start with this on the board. So you can change up how your game plays based on what you want to use right from the get-go. And that's really cool. And each of those long-range scans of the anomalies is a completely unique add-on to the game. And they all have their various sci-fi references. There's one for the Death Star. There's one for Tribbles. There's one for Stargate, where you have little ships going around conquering planets. All kinds of fun things. And it's just a really cool game for being a simple concept. And like I said, it's real easy to teach, real quick to play, and no two games are ever the same. So if you're interested in more of a how to play or looking more into it, there's tons of videos out there. Be sure to check them out. This was, again, kind of a quick overview, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on the final version of this game. I did do, I think, a much more in-depth of the how to play in the video I did on the prototype. However, a lot has changed since then, especially in components and things. Definitely look into it more if it's something you're interested in. And I hope my video helps you decide if it is something you're interested in. And overall, it's been a great game, and I can't wait to get it to the table more. We're still playing through all of the long-range scans on the anomalies. There is a ton of those total. And each one, like I said, is unique and adds a new thing to the game. As well as you have different front and back components. Different cards come up in the exploration deck. Different planets are flipped over to their advanced side. There's so much that changes game to game. And while the core concept is the same, collect the asteroids, sell them to the planets, make the money. Based on the upgrades you get, it may change what color asteroids you're going after. Based on the anomalies that come up, it may completely change. There's one that adds a new planet to the game. And then you go there and you collect spice. And you bring it back to that planet and sell it in an homage to Dune. Some of the anomalies introduce new exploration cards, upgrades to your ship, things like that. There's even crew cards you can get from one of the anomalies that add to your crew and give you basically another small bonus like you had another captain. So many cool things, so much potential for expansions in the future as well. And of course, all the extra tokens they gave you and the cards they gave you to create your own stuff on top of that. It is a great game, and I love it. And we've played a lot of it. And I expect to play a lot more of it in the future. So that's my thoughts on it. Obviously, I may be a little biased because I do love the game and I play it so much. But I hope all of this helps you decide if it is something that you might be interested in. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.